the issue of the function of the council. We feel that the functions of the council should be clear so that there's no conflict with the governance of the association. It's just our appeal that the functions of the council are supposed to be very much clear so that there isn't that much conflict. Yeah, because what do we mean on this one, Chair? Developing the profession requires adjustments to the curriculum. Okay, and this is beyond the jurisdiction of the council, and that only training providers and regulators of training can do so. So hence our submission to that effect. On the issue of the constitution of the proposed institute, we said yes, it is important that each organization, of course, is supposed to be regulated by rules and regulations. And so the issue of the council having a constitution is one that is supported, and it is our feeling as a college that the constitution is supposed to be in place, and not just on a constitution, but one that will stand the test of time. There was also in part 3, Chair, to be specific, part 3.2.1, where it reads, advise the minister on matters relating to secretarial practice. We feel that, to borrow the legal terminology, that there's a bit of a lacuna there. When we just say the minister, we are not very categorical which minister or which ministry. So we feel that it's important that we indicate which ministry this council will fall under, so that it's made clear from the word, from the very beginning. Under part 4, Chair, to be specific, part 4.13.1, we are in support of the registration of secretaries, because under that, under part 4, it talks about registration of secretaries. Us as a training provider, Chair, we have trained quite a number of secretaries, and even our secretaries that we have are not registered. And it is important that these secretaries also register to this institute or the council that will be put in place. And that way, I think it will be proper, because these secretaries will be able to be regulated by that institute or council that will be constituted. So we support the motion that all the secretaries should be registered under this institute or council. Under section 35.2, it reads, a person shall not offer employment to a person who does not hold a practicing certificate issued under this act. We are also in favor or in support of this this statement, and we know it does sound a bit harsh, but it's one that needs to be supported. So what are we saying here? We are saying all those that are training, or those secretaries that have passed through different institutions need to be registered, and those that are not registered, I think employment won't be given to them. So we are very much in support of this motion. Under part 4, Chair, to be specific, 25.1, where it reads, a practicing certificate shall be renewed annually in the prescribed manner and form on the payment of the prescribed fee. We feel here, I think the annual renewal may be can be moved to 3 years. We feel that not all secretaries get a good salary, and so maybe we give them some sort of a breather where they renew their license after 3 years instead of renewing these licenses every year. So it's just our submission that if it can be considered, maybe that can be a better thing, considering that we have trained quite a number of secretaries, and some of these secretaries we are still interacting. Very few are in the jobs that are well paying. So maybe 3 years will do for them. Under Part 4, Chair, to be specific, Section 41, I think quite a number of on professional conduct committee, and then a number of things listed there. The professional conduct committee and disciplinary committee chair. It is our appeal again that these two committees, the professional conduct committee and the disciplinary committee, it is our appeal that their roles and duties are supposed to be well defined. Otherwise, when we went through this document, we feel that if these two committees' roles are not well defined, there will be a conflict of interest there. We'll see a situation where the professional committee will end up doing the duty of a disciplinary committee. And then the disciplinary committee also may take up the role of a professional conduct committee. So I think the roles of a conduct committee should just to look at the issue of did this person go against his conduct or her conduct. If yes, then if found wanting, let the disciplinary committee take up that responsibility. So it is just our appeal that the two, I think the roles of the two committees should be well defined. Then further, we feel that if the disciplinary committee, for example, should conduct a judicial proceeding, which of the current existing courts shall be acquitted to, we feel again that the role of the disciplinary committee should not be that of being a court. If someone, I think, is found wanting, then they can be handed over to the courts for further punishment or the like. Otherwise, Chair, with these few submissions, we are very much in support of the proposed bill. I thank you.
Thank you very much, witness. Honorable members, any questions? Yes, honorable. Is that a hand up, Honorable Mpundu? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I've got two just quick questions. One is when you look at the disqualification of somebody or somebody has erred, the bill has said that person should be penalized. It is more or less, it is to time indefinite. It hasn't said within this period you won't be practicing. What is your view on that one? Because it's just saying once you are said we are registering you, it is out of a wrong where a right thing comes. Now the bill is just saying you are disqualified till you never practice. Would you be of a view that the period is specified to say you are disqualified within 1 year, or you leave it bare to say you are disqualified and no more practicing? Number two, when you look at the bill, I see there is already a social exclusion in existence on the membership. When you look on the membership, it hasn't put our people who are living with disabilities to be members. But this is a profession where we have got some of our colleagues, they are in this field. Would you support that in this bill it is specifying at least there is a slot to say one of its members should be a people from those who are living with disabilities? Thank you.
Yes, our witness.
I feel that the submissions, or rather the observations being made, are quite valid. Starting with the period not being specified, I even feel, why didn't we get our eyes to this one? I think it's precisely as the Honorable is putting it. The period itself is supposed to be specified. It should not be left hanging the way it is. I'm sure we are agreeable to the suggestion that's being put forward. Thank you. What's the other one?
On the issue of membership, in terms of our brothers and sisters with living with disabilities being left out, yes, it does just say professional secretaries, but it does not include our brothers and sisters living with disabilities. Maybe it's important that they're not left out. We thought that just the term professional encompasses everyone, includes everyone, but it's important that maybe the wording is put there so that they do not feel left out. So it's something that can be supported as well. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. Honorable Mpundu, are you okay? Any follow-up question? Okay, thank you. Honorable Shakafuto?
Thank you so much, Chair. I'm looking at part 1, number 2, on interpretation, that is section 30, where the meaning of professional secretary is given, and I would like to read. Professional secretary means a person who has obtained a qualification in shorthand and typewriting and possesses a secretarial certificate, diploma in secretarial studies, or degree in secretarial studies, and includes typist, stenographer, legal secretary, personal secretary, senior personal secretary, executive assistant secretary, administrative assistant, and principal executive assistant. Other witnesses that have appeared before this committee, I think, have advanced reservations that perhaps the meaning of professional secretary is too ambitious, because it's including other positions like legal secretary, whose qualifications are very different from a secretary. What would be your comment? I thank you.
Thank you very much. Looking at the qualifications, though it may sound ambitious, but you find that for somebody to have reached that status of legal secretary, they should have started from certificate, then they were advanced to advanced certificate, which has got shortened, and then as they advance, they can now, that's when they can include law, they can include other business courses as they progress. But the truth is that all these are encompassed as secretaries. It's just that the levels differ as they progress, they are advancing, but it's from the base that they start, from the certificate. Thank you.
Well, Honorable Shakafuto, follow-up question?
Not really a follow-up question, so you're okay with the interpretation of who a professional secretary is?
Yes, we are. Yeah, we are. Okay. Because with all these included, there's no one who will be left out. At least all those who have done secretarial, they will be covered under the Act. Thank you.
And maybe
Thank you
Chair,
very much.
maybe just to add on,
Yes.
Chair.
Yes, please.
Yeah. I think it's clear when we went through this document that as they register, there will be they'll be put in categories. I think they'll be put in categories where you have those with certificate, those with advanced certificate, those with diploma, and those that are at degree level. But all these, regardless of for them being at different, qualification, they're professional secretaries. Maybe it will be just an issue of because you have a degree, you need to pay so much. But they are all, as my HOD has said, they all pass through that stage. So we are still comfortable with the term professional. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Kalila.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, sorry for coming late. I was of the view it's 9:30. I forgot that we agreed at 9 hours. But needless to say, I'm happy I found you. Yeah, so I think my question is to you. Can you explain to me how you understand the workings of the disciplinary committee and the professional misconduct committee? How do you understand it shall work out? I know you raised also as a misgiving over this matter, but your own understanding so far. Or to put it another way, what would you recommend over these two organs of discipline?
Thank you, through the chair. I think would recommend that there's a professional misconduct committee than the disciplinary committee, because from
you recommend
reading
that there will be both?
No, one. There will be one, because reading from the disciplinary committee, if it will conduct judicial proceedings, then which courts will it be equated to? But the professional, if they find somebody erring, again, the disciplinary measures which are put there, some of them under the professional misconduct committee, they are also there in the disciplinary committee. So there will be conflict of interest between these two. So if a member is found erring, the professional misconduct committee can do their whatever measures they take. If it is beyond their jurisdiction, that means now it requires the court to come in. Then maybe it can be taken to that level. Because I still feel there are conflicts. The same measures here are the same measures in the other. Thank you.
So what I'm trying to get at is for you to be very clear, to clarify to us that you are recommending that there should only be one disciplinary committee or one disciplinary organ, whatever name you call it, whether disciplinary committee or professional misconduct committee, but you are actually saying there should only be one organ of discipline. Is that the case?
Yes.
Now I notice from the bill that they have cascaded it down, that each district is supposed to have this organ, which they are calling the professional conduct committee, and then at national level a disciplinary committee. So I can understand your misgivings and the confusion that may arise. So I just wanted clarity. So in fact, you're saying there should only be one organ.
Thank you very much. Some clarification, please.
Yes, Chair. If the two are to stand, then their roles and duties are supposed to be well defined, so that there is no overlapping of responsibilities. But if possible, there can just be one, because when we went through the professional conduct committee in terms of their duties and those of a disciplinary committee, you find that they're overlapping. So why not just stand with one professional conduct committee that will look at the welfare of a secretary in terms of their conduct and the like, and if found wanting, then some sort of punishment, or to put in that way, given to that particular secretary. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Another follow-up question?
Yeah, so did I also get you at some point saying that you'd love the disciplinary measures that are taken and the sanctions, and thereafter define the period of such sanctions in the bill? Is that one of your? Is it one of your feelings as well?
In fact, we are in agreement with the specifications of those periods as earlier suggested. Because usually when you have arrived at a situation where maybe a disciplinary action has been meted out, if it's left unclear in terms of what happens to the person, I'm sure that will be a recipe for a little bit of confusion. But it should be stated what offense or what kind of offense or what weight of offense may go for 1 year, for 2 years, that kind of thing. So those should be specified clearly when reinstatements can be made.
So
Thank you.
What would you say then to the assertion that the periods for such punishments, the type of offences will be crafted in the regulations? Because it's difficult at this stage to envisage what kind of offences can be committed. What would you say if such were to be an explanation?
I think at this stage for ourselves is to say we are in agreement with the institution of the periods. I don't know at which stage when those are supposed to be made in terms of the exact period. I'm sure it may need another group to look into that. Thank you.
That's what happens.
Yes, Honorable Mandandi.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much, witness. Mine is to do with a subscription fee. It says the holder of a practicing certificate shall display the practicing certificate in a conspicuous place at the place of practice. And 25, that is on page 16. It goes on to say a practicing certificate shall be renewed annually in the prescribed manner and form on payment of the prescribed fee. My question is, what would be the reasonable amount or reasonable fee for this practicing certificate? Considering the poverty levels, the economic status of our people out there in the villages. That's the first one. The second one, in your submission, you've made mention of the fact that you are not agreeable with the naming. Of course, the naming that it should actually be called a council, Zambia Council for Professional Secretaries. Yeah. Now, my question here is what I asked the people that were here yesterday, that you agree with me that we have one outcry throughout the country concerning laws. Many times, the passing rate at Ziale has been a source of concern. This has been attributed to, allegedly, lawyers who are already practicing, trying to disadvantage others so that the passing rate should at all times be low, to ensure that the market is not overflooded. Don't you think by coming up with this act or with this bill, by supporting this bill, we're also trying to create another monster this time around within the secretariat, among the secretaries, such that come next year now, for one to get a certificate, you really have to fail many times for you to acquire it. Don't we see some cartels of some kind mushrooming, which will end up disadvantaging our poor people out there? I submit. Thank you.
Thank you, through the chair. I think that's the reason why we proposed the name of the council, because the moment it will be an institution, it means it will have to make standards, set exams, which is the case with Ziare, which is the case with Zamim. But in this particular case, what we have is Teveta is setting the exams for secretaries. So what is needed should be a council where they will register. But then again, when we looked at the bill, actually we are debating because there are two things involved in this bill. There is the regulation aspect and there is the secretaries themselves grouping. So now, if it is a council, again, let it be clarified in this act whether secretaries will make their own association. Because what is coming out is a council needing to regulate secretaries. So it cannot be an institute. Then it will take up the role of TVETA. And it means the process will have to restart affiliating with the professional examination institutions. So let it be a council so that secretaries can affiliate, and then they can also have their own institution, association. That way it will not be a monster. But as long as it will be given powers to set exams, then it will be a monster. Thank you. I submit.
Yes, no, thank you for that elaborate explanation. I think it was a very good observation from Honorable Mandandi. Yes, Honorable Doc.
Yeah. Yes, so I just want to find out once again from your fears, did you take time to read the objectives of the bill? Is there anywhere where eventually you fear that it explicitly states that they will now be setting exams? And because I think that the bill is extremely very clear, the objectives are there. Whether it's a council or an institute, the objectives are what should be able to guide the operations of this body.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think the object. Yeah. I think the objectives, we went through the objectives that were set. I think the objectives are okay. Just the issue of, I think, emphasizing that, like Honorable here has said, that can this, institute or council be a monster? We're coming from a situation where maybe secretaries were not paying any subscription in amount or their license and the like. And if you go through it, you find a situation where even those that are training to be secretaries will be paying as well. And to some extent, yes, it can act as a monster, because people who are willing to come and study as secretaries say, now there's this amount that we need to pay. I think I'll go the other direction and not this direction. So in a way, again, it's a yes and no response to that. But the objectives, I think, are very well set. That it's more of it being a regulator. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Katuta. It's a follow-up question. It's okay. Okay, please.
Fee could be.
Maybe we can approach this looking at what is obtaining elsewhere. Currently, for teachers, for example, registration stands separate from the license fee, the practicing fee. The license is 300 per year, and the registration itself is about 631 or so. For me, I would go for the license maybe around 250 or 200. Then the registration about 400 or so. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Shakafu.
Thank you so much, Chair. Because of the good submission you've made on part 5, I'm compelled to ask of your comments on part 6 of the bill to do with the inspectors. I note that you are saying that in part 5, section 45, a hearing for the disciplinary committee shall, for the purposes of chapter 6 of the penal code, be deemed to be a judicial proceeding. And you've questioned this, and you're asking to say which court will they equate. And so when you go down to part 6, there's the appointment of suitably qualified persons as inspectors. And if you look at the powers they've been given, these powers are the same as police officers, law enforcement officers. So for me, I'm looking at this also as being ultra virus, because an ordinary person who has not been trained as a law enforcement officer cannot have these powers, and they are not backed by our constitution. What would be your comment?
Thank you, Honorable. You are very much on point. When we went through saying, are they going to be hired, this council or institute going to be hiring qualified police officers to be inspectors or what? It is our feeling also that they have been given so much power. I think that is one thing that we need to look at and see how far they can go when it comes to inspection. I think they are not coming as police officers. Yes, we know they are inspectors in all these institutions, but I think the powers that have been given to them are a bit too much. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair again.
Yes.
It's just like my colleague has contributed. Actually, we were debating, just like we looked at conducting judicial proceedings, and then we look at going flat out to inspect and collect evidence and whatever. So saying then, what role will the police play? Are we, is this bill trying to introduce another law enforcing agency which will have so much power to go and search and collect? And where will they keep that evidence when they collect it? So I think it's going beyond the powers of just such a council, as I submit.
Well, any more questions?
A last comment to do with the subscription fee. I feel what you have said, to say 300, 350, and 400, somewhere there. 250.
Or maybe
you said 250 and the other amount. Don't even forget.
Okay.
Because if you put that money together, it has already reached about 700 plus.
700, yes.
Don't forget that in the same bill, there is also validation by Zambia Qualification Authority, whose amount there, it is quite high. Now you can see a poor Zambian, how does he manage? And most of these people, just as you have alluded to in your submission, to say they get quite minimal salaries. To me, that 250 is even too much. Even 100 kwacha can do, because there are also other regulatory institutions that can do. Yeah, because there are more fees. You find that students won't be registering, and then we are disadvantaging them. So the law should be not making people to be more poor and poor because of the law. So that is my submission, Chair. I just wanted to put it as a comment. I don't mean that you need to get, but you need to look at those aspects. Thank you.
Through the chair, in fact, I wanted to comment when my colleague was saying, looking at the secretaries, they are not employed at the same time like teachers, like nurses. Some of them will go to very small institutions which will pay them minimal salaries. So as much as possible, this registration, this affiliation should be minimal, affordable to others. Otherwise, it will cause more poverty among, even 50 kwacha, otherwise it will cause more poverty among the secretaries. I submit.
50 kwacha, honorable members, because again, they have to have this sense of belonging to these bodies, because if they pay 50 kwacha, it's not much. Yeah, so I think they should pay a little bit more so that there's that responsibility aspect of it. I think 200 for me is okay. Okay, anyway, we have a submission already. Thank you very much. Any more? But we have already from Kasia, which is, yeah, any more?
I think through the chair, at the time when I was making that suggestion, I had not looked at what I was pointed out to afterwards. But after listening to what has been said now, I think I'm agreeable. Perhaps only to... yes. Yes, yes, yes.
We already, like area indicated, we already have your submission. So, yes, thank you very much. Any more contributions? Yeah, if there, yeah, any point of clarification, winding up? Nothing. No, thank you very much. I think we have exhausted every aspect of it. And our members, it's interesting that our members, they really came up with questions and points of clarifications. Unless there's anything else, I think this meeting has come to an end. And before we release you, we would like to take back our immunity so that you don't go back with it. Whatever has been deliberated here remains here. But as after now, it will be held against you. So please, go in peace. Thank you for coming, and have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
okusuula kwa munte kwe batya empera yakwe yo kwaliwo ulanguluka kumulu kuchimuntu kujulu kuchulu kuchimuntu kuchulu Yesu alasobolola pachapepe Hallelujah Hallelujah yes Hallelujah Amen Hallelujah Hallelujah yes Hallelujah yes Hallelujah yes Amen alalanguluka eumfepo yako achibululesa hey wewimya balanda wabasambika wababika pachambaso bamoneka bantu awe niwelesa hey ushisala niwelesa we wababyo waibela take it low ichambaso chipilibulati something you don't deserve but God gives you anyway. Hallelujah. A level you don't deserve, a wife you don't deserve, a job you don't deserve, but God gives you anyway. Hallelujah. Anyway, somebody say anyway. Anyway. We are the anyway product. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Anyway, we nyabalanda, wabasambika, wababika pachamba soba moneka bantu. Awe niwelesa, ewe ushisala, niwelesa, we wabafyo waiwe. Ala iwe niwelesa, niwelesa, takuli umbi, Yesu. Wewe ni abantu niwelesa, niwelesa, ausambika niwelesa, wabafyo waiwe.
Ukusulwa kwena mani twali
Christina, my praise the Lord. Kamuntu walesonta lwachapshile wabafyo waibera Aranga muntu walesonta Oya twamurarele bariye Waluse Yesu Alandela ngomwana wako Waluse Yesu Alansesenda Bimbe waluse Wapanga mweshila Mirimo Wabikama na mechi nefisa wopya twala Baliaba susulile Baisali ya kono kunwa Niweleza Wauchinda mikaba na wowe Niweleza Oh niweleza Wabakya waibela Yesu Wapanga mweshila Wabikama na mechi nefisa wopya twala Baliaba susulile Baisali ya kono kunwa Niweleza Wauchinda mikaba na wowe Niweleza lesale kwibukisa na iwe.
My name is Bang Nyendwa, and I'm here at National Assembly where I have met the Speaker. What could be a word of encouragement to other females who would like to run for government or become the Speaker in future?
Thank you so much, and you are welcome to Parliament. This is your Parliament. So, on behalf of Madam Speaker, because the first Deputy Speaker in the last session was a woman like me, but on behalf of the Speaker herself, we were all very happy that for the first time in the history of Zambia, we had a female speaker. That really made us very happy, because all along there were men. We want to see the difference between men and women, because women are also very important in the decision-making processes in Zambia. For example, just like the Vice President, she's a woman. So we are equally very happy to have a speaker here. We know, being a woman, she's very accommodative, she's very lovely, and we are very sure that she will preside over in Parliament fairly, in a manner that the Zambians will be very happy. Because as you know, Parliament, when you are here at Parliament, we are working for the people of Zambia. So the people of Zambia will be very happy. By the way, Madam Speaker, myself, we preside over the proceedings in the House. So for those women, including the girls here, you've seen us, we are speakers, female speakers. So please, work very hard so that one day you'll be here, you take over from me, you take over from Madam Speaker. When that time comes, you become ministers, doctors, but what is required for you is to work very hard and be passionate about your country, Zambia. The future lies in your hands. Me, one day I will be gone, Madam Speaker will be gone, and then you also be grown-ups like us. So you should work very hard, that maybe from amongst yourselves, there will be a speaker. Even the boys, the girls, there will be a speaker, first deputy speaker, member of parliament, the minister, doctors, lawyers. So the ball is in your hands. Otherwise, you are supposed to be very passionate about your country, love your country. That is why we say, one Zambia, one nation. Thank you.
Thank you for having us here. We're very happy to be a part of this of you. And we're thanking you from Top Grade Academy, grade 7 pupils. We have learned so much, and we just thank you.
Thank you. Come again.
We are
one week closer to kickoff.
So much history, the passion runs so deep.
That's the way we ask. This is the best atmosphere.
Catch the start of the college football season live on ESPN.
Watch ESPN on DSTV.
Matters of urgent public importance, the Honorable Member for Mpika.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for according me this opportunity to raise a matter of urgent public importance pursuant to Standing Order number 134. My matter of urgent public importance is directed at the Minister of Infrastructure, or indeed the leader of government business in the House. Madam Speaker, Great North Road is a very important economic road of our country, connecting our country to Tanzania and Dar es Salaam seaport in particular. Also connecting our country to Burundi via Mpulungu Harbor. Madam Speaker, Great North Road currently is in a very bad state. And as we approach the onset of the rainy season, the road is on the verge of being cut from the rest of the country. Madam Speaker, Great North Road has two toll gates, George Kunda toll gate and the Chilonga toll gate in Mpika. And under the Road Toll Act number 14 of 2011, Article number 11, it states that, and I quote, the toll fee or charge imposed for the use of the road and collected by the agents shall form part of the road fund and shall be exclusively for the construction, maintenance, and rehabilitation of the roads. Madam Speaker, against this background, Great North Road remains in a very bad state, despite the fact that it has a huge traffic flow, thereby raking in a lot of revenues through tolls to the National Road Fund Agency. Madam Speaker, there have been a number of accidents on the road, and most recently, 2 tanker trucks carrying petroleum products were involved in a road traffic accident, thereby destroying goods worth millions of kwacha. Madam Speaker, I seek your indulgence on this very important matter where lives and properties are being lost every day through road accidents. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chienge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the voice of Chienge to rise on this very important matters of agent of public importance. Madam Speaker, this is towards the Minister of Education, Minister of Education. Madam Speaker, um, the Teaching Commission and the Ministry of Education, by design, they decided to recruit 30,000 teachers in our country, and to which the people who are living with disability have been left out. And Madam Speaker, the number 4 of the 22 teacher recruitment program states that 10% of available vacancies shall be reserved for the persons with disability. When we look at the statistics, Madam Speaker, most of these people living with disabilities have been disadvantaged. They've not been recruited. And the TSC was heard on the television saying that they had employed people with living with a disability. Our country is a country where there's no discrimination, Madam Speaker. I rise on this very important matters of agents of importance for public, because our people, they have been left out, and they are also in dire need of these jobs in order to live. I would like to seek your indulgence on this very important issue, which has affected many families. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I will now respond to the two matters of urgent public importance that have been raised. I'll start with the first one raised by the Honorable Member from Pika in relation to the state of the road, the Great North Road, directed to the Leader of Government Business. Honorable Member from Pika, we appreciate and understand that this road has been in a deplorable condition for quite a long time. So I'm of the view that this is not a recent occurrence, because this road has been bad for quite some time. And it does not require an immediate action or attention by this House. Of course, the government needs to take measures about repairing roads. And it's not only the road going to Nakonde or the Great North Road. A number of roads, including the Great East Road, they are all in a bad state of repair. And the government is saying they are working on it, they are looking for money. So even if I directed the Leader of Government Business to come and deliver a ministerial statement, the matter will not change like there and then. So this is a matter that is ongoing. What I will ask the Honorable Member and other Honorable Members is to continue engaging with the Honorable Ministers to ensure that the state of our roads are looked at. So in terms of admissibility of this point, a matter of urgent public importance, it's not admitted. Then the one raised by the Honorable Member for Chiengi relating to the employment of disabled people. Again, Honorable Member, whereas this matter is important, we need to employ disabled. We have to give actually an opportunity to all Zambians to be employed, including the disabled people. So in terms of the criteria for raising this issue as a matter of urgent public importance, unfortunately, this matter does not meet the criteria. No catastrophe is going to occur if this House did not attend to the matter immediately. Again, this is an ongoing process whereby we need to continue engaging. I think the role of members of parliament is to engage and demand from the executive that certain things are done. Of course, as we are doing this, we are not supposed to micromanage them. We know that the role of parliament is to provide oversight, not to supervise the executive. When the executive fails to deliver on its promises or what it's supposed to do, then we provide the necessary oversight by demanding from the executive to do what they are required to do, but definitely not to micromanage them. That is my response to the 2 points of matters of urgent public importance. We can proceed and make progress. Question for oral answer, understanding order 74. the Honorable Member for Solwezi East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving this opportunity to the people of Solwezi East constituency to ask a question. That is question number 44.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the question asked by Mr. Katakwe is asking the Minister of Health, A, whether the flying doctor service is still operational, B, if it is, what challenges hinder its effective delivery of service, C, what measures the government is taking to make the wing effective, and D, when the measures will be implemented. Our response is as follows, Madam Speaker. To A, Madam Speaker, the Zambia Flying Doctor Service has been operational since its establishment through an Act of Parliament in 1967. Madam Speaker, the Zambia Flying Doctor Service was created under an Act of Parliament, Chapter 298 of the Laws of Zambia, to provide health services in remote and hard-to-reach areas in the country. However, over the years, the service has not received any substantial capital inflows from the government, resulting in deterioration of its fleet of aeroplanes and the facilities to the level of obsoleteness. Some of the specific challenges include, but not limited to, the following. The Zambia Flying Doctor Service was for many years operating without a board since June 2016, and this in itself had a negative effect as some policy decisions could not be implemented in the absence of the board. Secondly, Madam Speaker, the Zambia Flying Doctor Service has limited number and types of aircrafts. Currently, it has 2 fixed-wing aircraft and only one is operational. The other one has been grounded since 2017, pending engine and propeller overhaul. Thirdly, the Zambia Flying Doctor Service has no pressurized aircraft and no helicopter, which are very convenient in emergencies and hard-to-reach areas. Fourthly, the Zambia Flying Doctor Service aircraft currently do not have advanced life support equipment, making it challenging to carry out some emergency medical evacuations for critically ill patients. 5. The Zambia Flying Doctor Service has only 12 airstrips around the country. There are a number of areas in Zambia which are still hard to reach and yet have no airstrips and require aeromedical services from Zambia Flying Doctor Service. In addition, Madam Speaker, the 12 airstrips need to be upgraded to all-weather aviation infrastructure for aeromedical service delivery. And over the years, Zambia Flying Doctor Service has been facing challenges in liquidating debt, which currently stand at 13,508,674 kwacha. To question C, Madam Speaker, in order to make the Zambia Flying Doctor Service effective, government, under the New Dawn government, has been taking the following measures. Firstly, a board has since been appointed. Secondly, there has been some effort to liquidate outstanding debts regarding employee issues, which has since been done. And now what is remaining is the 13,508,000 kwacha, which is remaining. This is money owed to, these are statutory obligation Part of this money is owed to ZRA and the other one to NAPSA. Although the principal for both institutions have been paid, except for interest that has been accrued on compounded interest and penalties. Yes, thank you. Thirdly, the Zambia Flying Doctor Service is trying to overhaul the engine and the propeller for the grounded aircraft. The House may wish to note that grounding an aircraft for prolonged periods of time results in other component deterioration and subsequently increased cost in bringing the aircraft back online. Therefore, the required amount for the overhaul of the aircraft engine and propeller is estimated at 390,000 US dollars and 50,000 US dollars respectively. Fourthly, the following measures one of the measures is to procure an advanced life support equipment for the aircraft. The estimated cost for the procurement of the base and stretcher systems as well as other components of the advanced life support equipment is estimated at $413,000 per aircraft. 5, increase the number of airstrips from 12 airstrips so that a number of areas in Zambia which are still hard to reach and have no airstrips and require aeromedical services from Zambia Flying Doctor Service could benefit from the services. 6, construction of the Zambia Flying Doctor Services offices and hangar at Simon Mwansakapwepwe International Airport. 7, modernization of the Zambia Flying Doctor Service through procurement of additional and different types of aeroplanes or choppers that are able to be quickly converted between passenger, flight, cargo, and medical configuration, allowing for operational flexibility during disaster relief missions, and most importantly, to carry out some emergency medical evacuations for critically ill patients. To question D, Madam Speaker, the short and long-term measures that government intends to implement for the Zambia Flying Doctor Service to be effective will be undertaken within the 2022-2024 medium-term expenditure framework and beyond. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members are free to ask supplementary questions. Honorable member for Solwezi East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is a matter of life and death. In the medical fraternity, Madam Speaker, there is an acronym we say the golden hour, which is an hour within which life has to be saved, beyond which you lose life. There are many accidents that are happening, and if you look at the act that put this flying doctor service in action, the minister have said it took place in 1967, and with me, I have the act. It was last repealed in 1975, when I was just 1 year old. And this is the act which we are still using. Minister, does the government have any intention to repeal this act as one of the measures so as to effectively, enhance the flying doctor services for this country? Madam Speaker, thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable, for that important question. Indeed, the act that established the Zambia Flying Doctor Service is archaic and requires to be repealed. And yes, the New Dawn government will next year deal with this issue of the act. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mufumbwe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and would like to thank the Minister for that good answer. Honorable Minister, there are two challenges that affected Zambia Flying Doctor Services. One is the number of aircraft, and then the second one actually is the board, which was not in place. And according to the statement that you have given, the answer is that we have one more aircraft which is operational. Mufumbwe, we have two airdromes, one in Kalengwa and the other one in Kavanda. Now, I'd like to find out which areas are now being serviced by the only aircraft which is there. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable, for your follow-up question. As to which areas are being serviced, I want to say that currently, I would not say this year, for example, that there is an area that has really been serviced. I think what the institution has tried to do in the last 6 months after putting the board in place was to look at issues of personnel, because you can imagine this is an institution that was literally abandoned by the previous regime. And now we're trying to resuscitate it. And the first thing we tried to do was to put in place a board and then get the board to look at issues of management, which they're finished, look at issues of auditing, which they're finished, look at ensuring that workers are paid what is due to them, and begin to kind of make the institution give a service. And so far, they have been able to help in terms of health delivery in various places, except I would not have the answer exactly where they are. But I know that even within the Copperbelt province, they are helping in service delivery in as far as preventive and curative services are concerned. What they want to do now is they want to look at some of the clinics which they were running in the remotest part of Zambia, which were maybe 5 years ago taken over by the Ministry of Health and given to the district health team to run, which have been informed that they have gone round and they've discovered that some of those clinics were literally abandoned after being taken over by headquarters Ministry of Health. So one of the things we're doing is we've asked them to resuscitate some of those clinics that are closed. And we are hoping that before the end of this year, we will be able to open some of the clinics in the remotest part of Zambia. We've also, as a ministry, given them some of the mobile hospitals that were abandoned, either because they were not functioning. Those have been handed over to them. They have since made them become functional. And I'm aware that on the Copper Belt, they've started using them in terms of helping in the business of healing people, screening people for various diseases. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kanchivia.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, just as a matter of clarity, I would want the Minister to clarify whether the Act will be repealed or the Act will be amended. But coming to my question, Madam Speaker, the Act Cap 298 says, and I quote, under Section 3 says, there shall be a service known as a flying doctor service, the objects of which shall be to combat disease among and to promote the health and material well-being of the inhabitants of the rural areas of Zambia. In terms of the cost-benefit analysis, Honorable Minister, is it sustainable for us to maintain the Zambia Flying Doctor Service, or would it be ideal that we move in the direction of bringing facilities closer to the people, such as mini hospitals? Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you very much. The first part of the question was the question whether we are repealing, whether we are amending. And when you look at that piece of legislation, Madam Speaker, clearly you cannot even talk about amending. It requires a complete repeal and a new one put in place. But whilst we are at that matter, it is to find out whether the function, for the reasons why it was in the first place put in place, are still valid today or not. And obviously the answer would be yes, because Zambia is such a large country and we have many people living in some very remote rural areas where there is no health service. And so one of their core business was to ensure that where Ministry of Health has not put a facility in the rural parts of Zambia, it was important for Flying Doctor Service to take specialized treatment right at the doorstep of those sick persons, or even just in terms of, like now we're talking about COVID vaccination. You find that there are people that have never even heard about this issue of COVID. So what we would do is Zambia Flying Doctors will put a team of doctors and fly them into a particular community and do some health promotions and education, and maybe also conduct some screening and also conduct some treatment if they found somebody sick. And when you ask yourself the question, you will see that in many or in some parts of Zambia, this service will still be required. But obviously, this is a specialized service that is not cheap, but it's necessary. And I think that it's a pity that over the past years, the government then did not see the need to serve the people in the rural areas. And when you talk of cost analysis, it is cheaper to have the flying doctor services in place, looking at how Zambians are scattered, especially when you look at rural areas. You cannot manage to put a hospital next to every small population of people. So sometimes some areas just have to be serviced by mobile hospitals. And so the flying doctor service is another form of a mobile hospital. And you know, there are others that live in swamps, you know, in watery places. You can't even think of putting a permanent infrastructure. Again, in such areas, flying doctor service either by mobile boats or mobile road would be important. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chienge.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me just to say thank you also to the Minister, the answers that she's giving. Madam Speaker, Zambia Flying Doctor Service is very, very important. A country like ours is supposed to have. Listening to the reasons that the Minister has given, Madam Speaker, I would like to find out if the Zambia Flying Doctor Service cannot be combined with the Air Force. We have some planes there, the choppers at ZAF. Since they're all government institutions, we only see the choppers from ZAF when there's a disaster. Can't we have, at the moment while the government is waiting for funds to buy some planes for Zambia Flying Doctor Service, can't we have the Air Force, Zambia Air Force, to work at the moment with the flying service, the flying doctor service, because they are all after medical personnel, and we have some also at Zambia Air Force. I would like to find out why the ministry cannot just have the services also from ZAF. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable, for an important question. Except to say that what she has said is currently what does happen. You find that many times when there is either medical disaster or whatever disaster, the Zambia Flying Doctor Service does work with Ministry of Defense, the Air Force Division, who also have planes, and they do actually help. We are one government, and in that regard. But you must also know that that is specifically for the military, and they also have their own functions. And us as Minister of Health, our job is to ensure that every Zambian, nobody is left behind, and we must ensure that the service of health is taken to them. So when we talk about leaving no one behind, and we talk about medical service as close to somebody as possible, it means that you have to make it available by whatever means, be it medical board or plane, or is it a fixed structure, or is it these mobile hospitals that we also use? So the short answer is that she's correct, and that does happen, but we still need to build our own uh, fleet of planes which can also be used under Ministry of Health in support of delivering medical drugs and supplies in remote areas where it's difficult maybe for ZAMSA to reach. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kabwata.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to ask a question. Now, Honorable Minister, that you have highlighted the issue, the challenges that the institution has been facing, the issue of the board not being in place, the issue of also the human resource, and also the issue of the audit that was done and it has been completed. I just wanted to find out, through you, Honorable Minister, when was the last time government actually funded this institution? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you for the question. The institution has been funded. Even the previous defunct PF did fund it, except the funding was not sufficient. And what we have done under the new Dawn government is we doubled the budget from the 2021 budget 2022, we doubled it so that they were able to deal with a number of the challenges which had been there for decades. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Lunte.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I wish to thank you, except where you said defunct PF, because it is not defunct as far as I understand. Honorable Minister, just by way of following up the question from my honorable colleague from Kanchvia, I can see the minister is chatting, so I don't know if he... Oh, okay. Honorable Minister, following up the question that was asked by my honorable colleague from Kanchvia, where you are certain that you are going to repeal this act, have you already obtained cabinet approval in principle to traverse the repeal as opposed to amendment?
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Honorable Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable, for your follow-up question. When I say that it is going to be repealed, and I said next year, it is to exactly take the necessary procedural steps towards repealing, and that would also include consultation of stakeholders and everybody else. So that is what it means. And sorry, I was talking, Madam Speaker, I was trying to get the meaning of the word defunct. I sometimes English use a word which may be wrong. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Ron.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, I've alluded for quite a number of things that have actually negatively impacted the Zambia Flying Doctor Service. Honorable Minister, among all the things that you have mentioned, could you be in a position to state as to what the levels of human resource is at Zambia Flying Doctor Service, meaning the doctors, nurses, and all these medical support personnel, who we believe are currently drawing a salary when we don't have the equipment to help them execute these important services? Don't you think it's another drain for the institution? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable, for your follow-up question, a very good question indeed. Madam Speaker, I did say that at the time when we took office, I did say that this institution was as good as dead. And we have actually, as government, tried to resuscitate it. And the first point was to ensure that we look at the budget because we realized that they were not getting sufficient resources to do anything. And so this is how the budget was doubled. Obviously, even if the budget was doubled, I would still say that it is not sufficient, especially when you look at issues of equipment. But we'll get there. We already have a plan, and hopefully with time, we shall be able to get at least some new planes, hopefully next year, using other sources. But the question of human resource, if you look at the institution, they have now come up with a new structure to try and improve operations. And I must say that Flying Doctor Service also does have some clinics that are currently running. And they are giving a service to the communities in which they live in and where they are found. I did also say to you that initially they also had some clinics in very remote areas where central government was not there. But 4 years ago, the government did take all those, I'm told 40, I think there were 40, 40 health facilities countrywide. Now, we have done an analysis of all these, and we have found that, in fact, some of those were closed, and we want to open them. So you will find that in the manner in which they have restructured themselves, the board has come up with a plan of action for 2022, and I think for also 2023, 2024. And in their plans, everything they're doing is that they are trying to ensure that they relook beyond their function in terms of how can they help us in delivery of health service. I think what is important is, are they helping or are they just there to get salaries? The answer to that question, Madam Speaker, is that you'll be very impressed that they are doing a very good job, especially when it comes to helping us as government in preventive and also even curative. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Zambezi East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Listening to the Honorable Minister of Health explaining the challenges that the Zambia Flying Doctor Service is facing, I realized that this was actually a statutory institution that was put in place to mitigate the impact of the rural places. I was thinking about a place called Luamfula in Solwezi West, Solwezi East, Luamfula. There's a clinic there. To access it, Madam Speaker, one has to pass through Chililabobo.
Order. There is a point of order. Honorable Member for Lunte, what is the point of order?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. My point of order is based on Standing Order number 65, Madam Speaker, which requires that a member tendering discourse must release data which is verifiable. Madam Speaker, and it is directed at the Honorable Minister of Health. Madam Speaker, my honorable colleague from Kanchiwia asked the minister a very straightforward question, where he wanted to know whether government is going to repeal the act or it is going to amend the act. The minister was very clear. She indicated that there is nothing to repeal about this act. Or there is nothing to amend about this act. This act will be repealed. Madam Speaker, I followed up a question to get from the Honorable Minister whether she has already obtained principal approval from Cabinet for her to be certain that this act is going to be repealed as opposed to being amended. Madam Speaker, the Minister has just said to me and to the House that she is yet to make consultations. Now, how has she determined the outcome of consultation for her to be so clear that this bill
is going to be repealed. She doesn't have principal cabinet approval. She has not started consulting. Consultations will be done next year, but yet she's already predetermined that it's going to be repealed. Is she in order, Madam Speaker, to mislead the House by stating a position which has not yet been undertaken? I seek your serious way, Madam Speaker.
My understanding is that when an act is going to be repealed, the relevant ministry makes a decision that we are going to repeal and amend. Then there are processes that have to follow in terms of asking for approvals and all those things. So my understanding from the answer that the minister gave was that there was an intention to have this act repealed and replaced. But in the meantime, there are processes that have to be done in terms of applying for approval, seeking approval from cabinet. So I don't know whether the honorable member wants to, but because it's a process. So I believe the honorable minister was in order to give that answer, that there is a process that will follow. But I didn't hear her say that she has already obtained the cabinet approval, which you wanted to hear yourself. But she said that there is a process which has to be done, but the ministry itself has made a decision to repeal and replace. So can we make progress? The honorable member for Solwezi East was asking a question. Zambezi East. Can we be precise to the point, because we want to make progress to go to another item?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before I was disturbed by those political semantics, what I meant to say was
Order, honorable member. I think let's not attract acrimony in the House. Just ask your supplementary question.
Most obliged, Madam Speaker. I was just about to mention a place called Luamfula in Solwezi East. To access it, one had to pass through Chililabombwe. And that's the reason why Zambia Flying Doctor was put in place and such places. Now, I wanted to find out from you, Honorable Minister, now that Zambia Flying Doctor is operating at that level, almost really a defunct institution, how is the Ministry of Health coping with the situation of healthcare services, especially primary healthcare services, which Zambia Flying Doctor provided in such areas? And you will recall that actually the outbreak of that measles was around that area. So I would like you to assist us to know how the interventions have been put in place by your ministry to mitigate that situation. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable, for a very good question. I think I also did mention, Madam Speaker, that in the resources that were given to this institution to help it get back to its foot, part of the resources have been used to have the aeroplane that is moving serviced, and because it was serviced quite intensively, it has now started doing some few service delivery in such remote areas. And one of the issues or activities that they are going to be undertaking will be vaccinations, vaccinating young children maybe against measles and all those kind of things. And indeed, that is one of the reasons why to have the flying doctor service revamped is quite a big priority for us as a ministry, because we appreciate, we understand what is at stake. But apart from that, one of the other things that we are doing as a ministry is to push quickly the policy on decentralization regarding universal health coverage. We take note that His Excellency, in his quest to ensure that all areas of Zambia are covered, he did already in the statutory instruments, just when we're being appointed, already has actually moved those functions to the local authorities. I think what we are doing as a ministry is to try and implement that critical, very important decision of His Excellency, which has already been given um, legal effect. And so one of the things you're going to see us do very quickly, getting into 2023, will be to begin to get the local authorities to perform some of those functions by giving them not just the function, but capacity in terms of human resource, in terms of equipment, and in terms of resources, so that those difficult areas to reach can now be reached by the relevant council. And I think that we are confident that we'll see a general improvement in terms of health service delivery throughout Zambia in an equitable manner. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we have spent some time on this question. I know it's interesting, but I'll just allow 2 more questions. But I noticed that the Honorable Member for Solez East has a point of order. What's the point of order? I thought the question was yours.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise on a point of order pursuant to our standing orders 204.
Proceed, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Last time there was an acrimony caused by Farrer Member of Parliament, and Madam Speaker, you actually called that when he comes back to this house, he has to apologize. Is he in order to sit there and listen vivaciously without rendering an apology to this house? Madam Speaker, I seek your ruling.
I believe the Honorable Member was waiting for an opportune moment for him to do that. So we'll leave it to his best judgment. But he needs to do that at an appropriate time. Let's just close this segment, and then maybe I'll call upon the Honorable Member. The Honorable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Being one of the beneficiaries of Zambia Flying Doctor then, and now you're not being serviced by Zambia Flying Doctor. And I think the last surviving clinic you had, like in Luano or Rwangwa Valley, I think last season, the roof was blown off by the wind. Thank God, DMMU, madam, you've moved in. We are roofing it this week. I think people on site. Now, Madam Speaker, the question to the Minister. I'm impressed with your answers, the mitigation, what you think to do, what you're planning to do about this organization called Zambia Flying Doctor. But my question is very simple, Madam Speaker, to the Minister, that you've promised us that come next year we will try to source some planes to service, and you know that one Marco Polo bus or 2 Marco Polo buses are more expensive than those planes which were servicing Zambia Flying Doctors. And I believe these planes are not over $500,000. They should be, maybe if I'm not mistaken, between 5 to 1 million, somewhere there. And you know, this country of Spain on property is worth more than that. Are you promising us, or what is your the number? What is the number you are planning to add on to the one which is not operating now, which needs an engine overhaul and the wing overhaul? How many plans? Obviously, for you to give us this beautiful answer, you have the number of the planes you're adding up to the Zambia Flying Doctor. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable, for your follow-up question. Madam Speaker, in fact, you will be pleased to note that the board has actually been doing their own internal saving, using their own plan that they have, because when they are not using it for health service, they do use it as, they hire it out. And I was told that since months now, I think, they've managed to raise quite substantial amounts of money to confirm what I've said. But also let me ask through Madam Speaker that maybe the members of parliament in their respective constituencies may be able to help us with the information. If there's a clinic that has been closed, it's not functional, those are the ones that the Flying Doctor Service would actually immediately open. I think that capacity currently they have. Thank you.
Thank you. The last question will be from Honorable Member for Chilubi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think I would like to start with declaring that Chilubi is an interested constituency because it's a beneficiary, just like Nimba did say. We had Mof East 2 and Santa Maria being serviced by such. Let me just take the same opportunity to confirm the minister that such clinics have not been closed, but because it was used to serve a particular circumference of different health centers. Having said that, I would like to ask a question of clarification from the minister, whether going forward, whether the financial resources that will be availed in the budgets to come would also consider, apart from maintenance of those airstrips that are still there, we also consider adding more for hard-to-reach areas. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health, do you have any comment on that?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for the voice from Chilubi. Yes, apparently the board and management are looking at that, and that's why I said all things being equal, next year they may just be able to, but they're looking now at getting a helicopter, not just a plane, because some of those areas the best would be a medical helicopter. Thank you.
Thank you. Notice of motion. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that this House urges the government to extend the loan scheme to students at private universities in order to increase access to higher education.
Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Feeling a little disconnected from the rest of the world? Reconnect with the hottest entertainment source on the continent. Dust off your DSTV decoder and get connected to non-stop sport. Kids channels for all ages, a local scene like no other, and international movies and series that'll blow you away. Don't get left behind. Download the My DSTV app to pick the package that's right for your family and your pocket and reconnect today. DSTV, it's your moment.
Let me discuss the budget concerning the CDF. CDF has been given to the people of Lundazi, and yes, we are saying thank you, but we are taking it with a pinch of salt.
Meet Ms. Brenda Nyirenda, Member of Parliament for Lundazi Central Constituency under the Patriotic Front. She sits on the Committee on Privileges and Absences, and she is the Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Media, Information and Communication Technologies and National Guidance and Gender Matters, respectively. Ms. Nyirenda is jovial, hospitable, caring, and most of all, very outspoken. It's no wonder she articulates issues in the House the way she does.
It is important when we are sharing these things, we look at the population. Women are many in this country. Can we be fair in the distribution of the resources that we are giving them?
Brenda Nyirenda is a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a lecturer, and a psychologist, a gender activist, and just an educator, if I have to summarize. Was born in a family of 6, 5 girls and only 1 boy. One of our own died, a girl. So we've remained 4 girls and only 1 boy. My father is a late, he was a policeman. So I'm a child who has lived in police camps, different police camps. Yes, born in Skanza police camp. I've lived in Ndola Central. I've lived in Chifubu. I've lived in actually almost all parts of Zambia. And I know a lot of languages. I can speak Lozi, I can speak Kaonde, I can speak Tumbuka very well, I can speak Tonga, and it has given me an exposure. Having lived with my dad in very different places, I tend to learn a lot of languages as well.
Ms. Nyirenda narrates how rough her childhood was. She once sold vegetables to make ends meet.
Claudette, my upbringing was one where we had to like add on to survive. What am I saying? My mom was not an educated woman, but she was a marketeer, and we used to do a lot of gardening. When I was young, growing up, I never even knew what it is to be these beauty youths you see around looking very nice. I used to sell a lot of vegetables, and on my head, you know, the hair even came off because of the heavy trays and dishes that I used to carry. I used to go around selling vegetables. Every time I knocked off from school, up to as late as grade 8, on the copper belt, I would go around calling Repo, Repo, Repo. And that was like part of my growing up. I knew how to help my mom at the market stand. Immediately when I knock off, I would rush to the stand and sell tomatoes, sell potatoes, and a lot of things. In short, I grew up knowing what challenges are.
She is the woman she is today simply because of the hardships she went through. She sobs as she recalls her upbringing.
The experiences that I have gone through, Claudette, has made me to be the woman I am today. I talk freely. I've had different experiences in life. Some of them, they can make your tears drop. But I think God has helped me through and through. I'm sorry if I may act emotional at times. Because when you're looking back, sometimes you may feel the pain today, which was yesterday's. I'm sorry for that. I hope this clip can be put off. But if it can encourage someone, it is okay. What I'm trying to say is this. I grew up with my mom and my dad, very caring people. But, you know, being a police officer, we never had a television in our home. We used to go watch TV at our neighbor's house. And you see, what would happen was at the peak hour, when maybe something good is about to come, they would just draw the curtain and would just go back. Today, that has had an effect on me. Sometimes I don't even watch TV because what you go through the time when you're young, when you grow up, it will have some side effects. That's why I don't want any child to miss out on anything good when they are young. And as a member of parliament, I'll make sure that I fight for the people who are going through this poverty. It is not good. I come out so openly because I know what it is to live in a poor environment. I know how humiliating it can be. So, having that experience in the police camp where others had television sets and we didn't have, it was like every 15, 16 hours, would go and line up at somebody's house and we are trying to peep through the window to just see what programs were there. And at the peak hour, they would close the windows. So, I grew up hurting.
Getting pregnant at the age of 16 shattered her dreams of completing her grade 12. But all was not lost.
And at the time when I thought all was getting on well, I became pregnant at an early age. Like 16 years of age. Very intelligent at school and hoping to put my family at a better place. I found myself in unwanted pregnancy. And by that time, my dad had retired then in Lundazi. I had to go back to the village. And you see, that experience and the pain that I went through has made me to be the woman I am today. I delivered a premature baby in Lundazi, and thank God my dad then was getting his salary and he managed to help me. And that daughter of mine has grown up. She's an accountant today. But it's a voice to some woman or girl out there that do not abort, don't kill. You may just kill the president, you may kill a vice president or any other person. Go through it all. At the end of the day, every person has got a ladder. After I left school, I was already in grade 12, but because of the different policies that were put in place then by Dr. Kaunda's regime, they couldn't allow you to proceed even if you were pregnant. But today, after 1991, we can say that a girl can still go back to school. So some of the policies which we create as lawmakers can have a serious impact on the lives of individuals. Whilst the implementers will implement them without looking at what could it that can help this girl child. I dropped out of school because of that. After delivering my child, I had to wait. 1991, uh, the policies changed. They said those who had been to school, they dropped, they can still go back to school. It was healing for me because I knew I wasn't just a grade 12 dropout. There was something in me. I was still intelligent, but because of the biological role and the challenges that I found myself when my dad retired, that is what made me to even become pregnant. So for me, the idea of taking the girl child to go back to school, it's a blessing in disguise. You don't know, Claudette. It has made me to be the member of parliament I am today.
She proudly talks about her children who have achieved a lot.
I'm a mother of 5. I have 3 daughters and 2 sons. I'm a mother of the first-born daughter, the experienced daughter. She's an accountant. She works for Indo-Zambia Bank. And my son is an economist. Then my daughter, she's a doctor. She's at Levy. And I have another daughter. She's a lawyer. and the last born is doing engineering. It gives me a sigh of relief that my children didn't have to go through what I went through. I had to ensure that I protected them. How did I do it? I told them openly my experience. So they know every time Brenda will go on TV, she may even talk about us. So they know to say that I'm doing it for another person so that they can live a better life.
She is a grandmother of 4. She says being a grandmother is an amazing experience.
I'm a grandmother of 4.5. I'm still expecting the 5th one. Why I'm saying a half? Yeah, my granddaughter Chatoa, my best friend. She's 7, and then there's one who is 5. The other one is 2. Then the other one is just some months. 4 months.
How is the experience, being a grandmother?
It's a beautiful experience, except grandchildren of nowadays, they won't come and stay with you, but they'll come in for a night over or maybe. But for the first one, I wanted to experience the being a grandmother. So at 8 months, she got sick, and my daughter then, the husband was out of the country, so I offered to take care of her. And the experience was really beautiful, and we have bonded so much. She's really my best.
It's interesting to learn that her husband, Mr. Davis Chisopa, is also a member of parliament. She narrates how hard it was for her to convince her husband that she also wanted to be a member of parliament.
My husband is a member of parliament. I think this is his 3rd term. He went in through a by-election that was in 2014, and then he won 2016, and he was won in 2021. What happens is I have a call upon my life, and he has a call upon his life. So I told him that I'll be with him in the first 2 terms. In the 3rd one, I would also stand as member of parliament to help my own people in Londazi. I had to be brave because I knew what I wanted. I wanted to save a life. I wanted to give hope to my people. But at the end of the day, it is his joy, because now he's saying, my wife is a member of parliament. You were saying you wanted a member of parliament. No, maybe it was not me. You were talking about my wife. Now he's jointly owning the glory.
She shares the experience of being a member of parliament so far.
First 3 months has taught me a lot of things. When to say yes and when to say no. Because there are a lot of rules in the house when you can speak and when you cannot. I have learned a lot. But what I want to say is Parliament is the most organized institution that I have ever worked for. They take you through orientation. So, they literally teach you what to do. And if all institutions in Zambia were working the way Parliament is working, we can have a better Zambia. They are strict on time. They tell you how to do things, and they are just so good.
Miss Nyirenda pays glowing tribute to her husband, who supports her in her work.
Despite what we went through, he's very good. He guides me now on what to do. Or even if me, I'm outspoken, him is on the quiet side. So you'll find that when I'm trying to study something, he'll tell me, if they don't go and embarrass me. So sometimes I have to put a hold on myself, because they say, if that's not the way it's supposed. So I'll tell him, better go and say it, and then they correct me. But he's my support system.
Apart from her husband, she talks about other people that support her.
I want to thank God for the church. They are really helpful. Both the Catholic Church, the churches around in Londazi, they are just helpful. At the end of the day, Claudette, you cannot achieve anything without God being in it. Everything that you do, there is someone up there whom we don't see, but through prayers you find that God is able to help you achieve a lot of things. Apart from that, I want to appreciate fellow members of parliament, like those from Eastern Province, like JJ Banda. He has been very helpful. And also Andrew Lubusha, being my provincial chairperson, he's also been very helpful. Eric Boma and a lot of other people, they have really been helpful. Some of the people from the ruling party, they are my support system. And you know, when they encourage you to say yes, we'll be able to help you out, you feel, ooh, this is a sigh of relief. I don't want to forget about His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwalungu. He believed in me against all odds.
She now shares with us how she spends her free time.
Usually at church, I'm a CWL, Catholic Women's League. So you find that I do a lot of interactions concerning charity work and loyalty. And apart from that, I'm a home person. I do a lot of studying. Most of the times, if you come, all the vehicles may not be here, but don't think I'm not around. I'm a home person. Most of the times, I spend my time studying, and I'll just be in the house. I prepare food, and I give a lot of instructions to my maids. My husband is someone who does not even eat from parliament. He doesn't eat, he likes traditional foods. So you find that I have to be in Soweto market to make sure that I'm picking all the different types of foods. I have to succeed as a wife, apart from succeeding as a member of parliament, and as they call me our mom in Lundazi. Apart from in all these sectors, I do not want to fail as a wife.
Ms. Nyirenda has a word of advice to women who want to join politics.
To a young woman out there, I'd want to encourage you that don't look at the resources. The first resource which you have, it is your heart. You didn't ask me what motivated me to get into politics. It is the experiences that I have had that made me to get into politics. So it is not like I was dreaming somewhere, I was becoming a ward chair lady and I was doing what. No, what I went through made me to wish to become a representative of the people who I feel are downtrodden. So to a young lady out there, you can become what I am. Look at what I went through. I became pregnant out of childhood. I was one of the people who was carrying dishes and selling tomato. I have sold salaula along Freedom Way there. Whatever you may be going through, whatever position you may be having today, should not limit who you can be. There are people who have voted for not because of the money which they have. There are people who have voted for because of the heart which they have. If you ask me, what did they have to take to Lundazi? I only had a heart.
Ms. Brenda Nyirenda believes that one's past cannot determine one's future. With determination, anyone can be a leader.
There is no other way of the forces of patriotism succeeding in society without those in leadership living in such a way as to be patriotic themselves. If leaders are not patriotic, nobody else will learn how to do good things towards fellow human beings. If you're not a patriot, if you don't develop spirit of patriotism in life, then you are destroying the nation as a whole. So patriotism really is a force that brings out success in any situation. Patriotism is very key in terms of human beings living together, human beings working together, human beings developing things together. Without that spirit of patriotism, we can't go very far. Each tribe wants to live on its own, want to be on its own. They don't look to others as also fellow human beings, God's children at all. They get divided, they begin fighting, they begin destroying each other across tribes. So it is a very dangerous group of human beings on earth, not only in Zambia, all over the world, where people are divided according to tribes. We saw that if we did not bring up the importance of our nation, we'll be a divided people. A divided people meaning we cannot live together. We'll be fighting each other across tribes. To destroy that, we say we built this one Zambia, one nation approach, looking at tribes not as a way of life, but nation as a way of life. So we're going to one Zambia, one nation. One Zambia, one nation. One Zambia, one nation. We've built up in a very strong way. So today, those 73 tribes of Zambia are very united. Very united. Yes, there will be some people who are still weak in looking at tribes as their way of life. All of us as tribes got to come together to build one Zambia, one nation.
Today's mandate dates a very critical institution, and this is the Technical Education Vocational Entrepreneurship Training Authority, that is TEVET. My guest on the program this particular day is the Director General from the same authority, and this is Mr. Cleophas Takaiza. Thank you so much for joining us on the mandate.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad to have you and also to get this opportunity to talk to you.
When was the authority created?
The authority has been around for a while now. As you know, it was created out of an act of parliament, the TVET Act number 13 of 1998. This act came about following the liberalization of the economy. Before then, government had control of most of the companies around. We are coming from a background where the major employers were parastatals. And also the training, especially in the TVET sector, was wholly operated by the government itself. So there used to be a department which was responsible for vocational education and training, which was hosted in this same building. So when government liberalized the economy, need arose also to ensure that they recalibrate the way skills development was happening in the country, also to allow for private sector participation in training. And therefore government decided to review the TVET policy then, and enacted a TVET policy which allowed for private sector participation, and also establishment of a government agency that would be responsible for regulating and coordinating TVET. That's how the TVET Act was enacted, and thereafter TVETA was created. It has been in existence since 2000, and with the coming on board of TVETA, we needed now to ensure that we establish standards based on which private sector would be allowed to participate in training. So we developed a system of registering private training providers, also a system of ensuring that curriculum development was linked to industry needs, and also within that, within the functions of TVETA included the need now to conduct assessments and certification of people who go through TVET learning programs. So you see that TVETA has been in existence starting from scratch, from government providing all the skills training programs to a situation where now private sector and non-governmental organizations are now able to register and operate training institutions in line with the standards that are developed in consultation with industry and follow and TVETA being the regulator.
Who are some of the director generals that have served before you?
The first Director General after the creation of this institution, you recall Dr. Patrick Nkanza. Dr. Patrick Nkanza was the first Director General who helped to put up this institution, who later on became the Permanent Secretary, as you know. From the Dr. Nkanza's reign came Mr. David Chakonta. Mr. Chakonta also came first of all from one of the training institutions, specifically the Northern Technical College. He served in TVETA as a Director Development initially, and later on took over from Dr. Nkanza as Director General until somewhere around 2018. That's when I took over also as Director General.
What are some of the reforms that have taken place from the time this authority was created in 2000?
Yes. First of all, the reforms, the major reform that took place, in fact, even before 2000, were related to the way the policy on TVET was. But since the coming on board of TVETA, we reformed, first of all, the way training was going to be conducted. For an institution to be able to deliver training, it needed now to ensure that it complies with certain rules and regulations that we had to develop. And the development of these rules involved a lot of consultation with the stakeholders, and the major stakeholders are first of all the government itself, but also most importantly industry, because as you know, TVET is basically a training that needs to be aligned with industry needs. So we ensured that the development of training programs needed or had to be aligned with the industry requirements. So there was reform in terms of curriculum development processes. There was reform in terms of the quality and the standards development, what rules and regulations training providers must comply with. First of all, reforms in terms of regulating who participates in training. You find out that now for you and I even to teach in a TVET institution, you need to be accredited, which was not there before. And this is all because we want to ensure that the sector only accepts people who have the requisite qualifications and the experience to play the role, so that then we can have a quality graduate at the end of the day. So there was also a reform in the way examinations and assessments would be conducted. In that regard, first of all, we had to develop rules and regulations that govern how examinations and assessments would be conducted. But also very important is also to reform who is eligible to participate in examination processes. So examiners, assessors also need to go through an accreditation process. But also recently, you know that Zambia now has got a qualifications framework, which is presided over by the Zambia Qualifications Authority. Very important, the sector also needed to ensure that it overhauls all the training programs that are conducted in the TVET sector to align to the qualifications framework of the country. This is very important because any country's qualification needs also to be benchmarked, not only with what industry expects, but also benchmarked with what obtains in other countries, so that holders of TVET qualifications can be recognized and accepted whenever they choose to go and serve outside this country.
Okay, before we look at the structure of your organization, let's just talk about some institutions that affiliate under TVET. Yes. Which institutions do you, maybe 4 or 5 notable institutions that our viewers would want to know?
Thank you very much. Like I said, the TVET policy and the TVET Act now allows anyone who is interested to play a role in skills development to establish and operate a training institution as long as they comply with the registration requirements. And as we are speaking now...
And what are these requirements, registration requirements?
One of the registration requirements, first of all, for one to register a training institution, they must first of all comply with the PACRA registration requirements, so that they are legally recognized as an entity in Zambia. They could register with PACRA, or better still with the Registrar of Societies Act, so that they have some identity. After they register with that, and also with the Revenue Authority, ZRA, they establish their identity, then they come to us. We will require them to indicate what kind of training programs that they wish to embark on. And depending on the nature of the training programs that they want to embark on, that will then determine what kind of infrastructure that we expect them to have, the type of personnel that they must recruit for teaching and learning to take place effectively. First of all, and also they must have, first of all, some operating premises which they can actually own, or it could be premises that they can rent, but we need to be provided with evidence that they have a right to the evidence that they claim to be operating from. That is important because we don't want institutions that register, say today they are in one place, and once they collect fees from the students, then they can't be located. People don't know of their whereabouts. So most importantly, amongst the criteria, we look at, first of all, the infrastructure, the human resource, the tools, and the equipment that is required to deliver that course that they want to run. The beauty is that most of the training programs, the curriculum, because we are responsible for curriculum development ourselves, they can actually come and pick any curriculum that they want from us for free. And in that curriculum, the curriculum will stipulate the environment that they must provide for teaching and learning to take place. So once they meet that criteria, there's a registration fee that they will be required to pay for us now to process their application. We will send our inspectors to go to the ground to go and conduct a physical verification of what they have claimed to have, including the qualifications of the teachers or lecturers that they have, and also the tools and equipment. And once the inspectors are satisfied with what they find, then we issue them with a certificate of registration.
So which institutions do you regulate? Maybe 5 or 6
yes.
Institutions that you can highlight.
We regulate the whole range of institutions. Some of them are government owned, while some of them may be private owned. And amongst the government owned institutions, there are a number of ministries that actually operate and run training institutions. For example, our ministry here for technology and science has got 28 institutions, which include even in Horn College here, the Northern Technical College. You may talk about Livingstone Institute of Business and Technical College,